Aloha, everyone, and welcome to Java. Thank you for joining me. It's Tuesday, and this is for October 24th, 2023. We've got a lot going on again today. So today we've got our favored risk indicator was working. We are still in extreme territory above 317, but it has come back quite a bit from basically yesterday past couple of days. So we had the 10-year yield marched above that 5% level. It has retraced as well as the relative strength of the dollar. And so that's brought our risk down a bit, but we're still in that extreme area. So we've watched the volatility index come down and also kind of not pouring into gold as much as people were. We've got oil positive, kind of a mixed sentiment, mixed board, but our futures are slightly in the green. So yesterday, as we expected, it kind of was a rally toward the afternoon, and then it died off toward the end. So the sentiment for today right now is it's neutral. So I'm expecting kind of what I call a chop day. It's going to be headline driven and very stock specific. So if there's news that comes out, it could drive a stock either direction. We do have some news movers. We are getting primary manufacturing inflation numbers at 9:45, and we're also getting afterwards. We're getting earnings from Microsoft and Google. So those are huge. Also Visa, actually, and those have the potential to be moving the markets. Early in the morning tomorrow, we've got Boeing. So if you want to kind of position yourself for that, do that before the end of the day for your long trades. So on the calendar, as I said, we are getting the PMI numbers. And for tomorrow, Wednesday, we will be getting new home sales. We are expecting those to be down because with the way that the mortgage rates and the economy are heading, I just don't see how they could be even neutral at this point. So I've got a couple of, one oil story and one related. Since the sanctions were dropped on Venezuela, and we were talking about this the other day, they have seen a rise in 25% of their production. So a lot of this is going to be going back to the United States, and that's the whole reason they dropped the sanctions, so that they could get some inexpensive oil, basically, to boost their reserves. And this one is only because Greta was at the London oil event protest. And so my question is, every time she gets arrested, she is smiling. So I have a really difficult time. I know they're fake, but I have a really difficult time thinking anybody thinks she's actually getting arrested. Anyway, you have an opinion on that? Leave it in the comments, please. I wouldn't mind hearing the other side of why she thinks that's great. Okay, so with other news, we've got the deficit doubling in the United States as the US economy grows. So they're saying this is why the yields for the Treasury have gone above 5%. And I disagree. We need to watch this debt market. It's very unstable. And this is really the problem that we're having. And it's underlying everything else. This is also why we're seeing so much conflict. If you look back historically, every time we've had conflict, it's because there have been massive, massive economic issues. So I posit that we're being dragged to war, as Gerald Celente says. All else fails, they bring us to war. I think that's what's going on. So we've also got Americans are falling behind on their auto loan payments at a record pace. So they're not just not buying anymore, but they are now defaulting and allowing their vehicles to be repossessed. So this is kind of a turning point, if you would, towards the one of the secondary signs, if you would, for the debt issues, debt market. So I've got a couple of stories with the banks. And this first one is that credit rating agencies are now looking at the banks because of this treasury yield, and they know the bank balances are not, their balance sheets are not very strong. So there are three main credit rating agencies. There's Fitch, S&P Global, and Moody's. And S&P Global and Moody's both have downgraded several banks, and they're looking to downgrade more because of all of this going on. So this is tanking their stocks and also creating a little bit of a ripple issue. So with that, we've also got Barclays saying that they are going to do major cost cuts as the margin pressure mounts. So generally, as they have been doing in the United States, major cost cuts means firing employees, labor cuts. So I wanted to bring up this graph. This is from the Federal Reserve. It's the commercial bank interest rate on credit card plans. And so this is only since 2000 is what I brought up. It went just barely above 16% back in 2000, 2001. And we know what was going on back then, kind of grinding along. And currently, the interest rates are above 21%. They're at extremely high rates. So we are going to be watching credit card defaults also. So Visa earnings after, I expect them to have quite a bit of earnings because people were still paying their cards until this reported limit. So they're making bank on these interest charges. Next reporting, I don't expect it will be so good. So as I said, kind of the drivers for everything we're watching right now is war. And so I've got this one because we want them to just say it out loud. They want us to go to war with Iran. So as the story says, there's growing concerns Israel may be headed toward a more direct confrontation with Iran. So it's not really Israel that's going to be in conflict. It's the U.S. stepping in, so by proxy. And then we've got Blinken and Austin warning, telling Iran that the U.S. will not hesitate to respond. So we never declared war. In the United States, you're supposed to have declaration of war by Congress, but we're just saying we won't hesitate to respond. And if we shove Israel out in the front and then just say we're supporting them, it makes everything fine. And that is not what was intended, my opinion. If you see things otherwise, or let me know how you feel about this in the comments. I don't know how they're getting away with this. It's not how it was designed. Anyway, on another front, we've got Beijing being reminded of the US-Philippine Defense Treaty after, says, ramming vessels in the South China Sea. So there's a little bit of a different take on this. Two boats collided. One was a Chinese boat, the other one was Philippine. And we've got two different sides of a story there. However, US is stepping in, reminding them of this treaty and telling them basically, we're going to step up. So we'll be in war with China. We're at war with Russia over Ukraine and war with Iran now. So I don't know what they're doing. They're just trying to distract. But this is big problems coming down the road if they don't kind of scale this back a little bit. So we did have this other story about needing to distinguish between Hamas and Palestinians. I agree with this. It's similar to saying that the FBI is same as Americans, and it's not exactly, or really, another three-letter agency that I hesitate to name here. I don't want to get banned, but anyway, I'd like to have your opinions on some of this stuff. But I do want to say we are all human. And we need to care for each other more than ever. They're trying to divide us because all wars are bankers' wars. And this where a lot of this is coming from. So I did want to bring up, we may hear from Greg Manorino later today. He could be putting out a video, I hope. We'll be able to see you all later if he does have his live stream. I do want to remind you all, as a viewer brought up, that we are all important. We are all humans. And with that, I wish you all a green trading day, just a wonderful day in general. And until I see you again, my friends, stay free.